Mr. Lance had been a wild, headstrong young man, and had wanted to see all of our beautiful country before he settled down. So at 17 he had packed a few things, left a note for his folks, and hopped a freight train to a new, exciting life. When Mr. Lance grew to be an old man, his wanderlust was cured, but he said that on stormy nights he remembered the strange events of a trip from Cleveland back to his hometown of Rowlesburg, West Virginia. It was during the winter of 1919, he said, that he walked to the outskirts of Cleveland, planning to hop a freight that was coming close to his home. After waiting a few minutes, he was surprised to notice a man squatting on his heels by the tracks. He had not heard him walk up. He remarked on the stranger's quietness and then asked him where he was bound. For judging from his gear, he was a rail bum, too. Without turning, the man told him he was going to Rowlesburg. Mr. Lance was delighted to find he would have a companion for the trip, but his friend wasn't very encouraging when he heard that the boy intended to join him. "No," he said. "You aren't going to be on the 11:15. At first, Mr. Lance was a little angry, and then he began to laugh. He told the stranger that he'd make it, with more confidence than he felt. The stranger said, "No!" again, more sharply and strangely than before. "Why not?" Mr. Lance asked. "And why don't you come over here by the fire where I can see you?" The strange man just sat there staring at the rails. Again Mr. Lance was slightly angry and began to douse the fire. He could hear the whistle of the 11:15 in the distance. His companion got up slowly, his back to him as he was preparing to leave. "That train will cause your death," he said in his slow, chilling voice. Mr. Lance just stared at him, noticing for the first time that his shirt, a red and green plaid, was streaked with blood. Muttering, "You're crazy," under his breath, he bent to finish dousing the fire. He confessed that he was in a great hurry to leave, for he was afraid of the man and angry with himself for being afraid. Suddenly he heard the man say, "You are not going on that train, mister," right in his ear. He turned quickly, and the sight of the man's face chilled him. It was traced in patchwork fashion with still bloody scars, and his whole face was twisted out of shape, the eyes bulging with a look of horror. Mr. Lance stared, speechless, and then tried to push the horrible creature out of the way, but his hand went right through him. He screamed and then fainted. When he regained his senses, the train had gone, and so had his companion. When Mr. Lance arrived in Rowlesburg the next day, he went straight into the depot to see if Mike, the Irish janitor, would give him a handout. He ate his fill and started to go. Then he couldn't resist asking any longer. "Mike, did a strange fellow drop off here yesterday?" Mike answered that nobody had dropped, but someone had tried to jump off the Cleveland Special and had been caught beneath the wheels. No two pieces of him ended up in the same place. The only thing left was a piece of plaid shirt. "Red and green plaid?" Mr. Lance asked, fearing the answer. "Sure, and how did you know?" Mike asked. "I just had a feeling," Mr. Lance replied. Mr. Lance says he thinks of it often. He had heard of ghosts coming back from the past, but he says he never heard of one traveling forward in time.